Do you have an overgrown garden or forest area that could benefit from clearing? Not just clearing, but a way of converting the surplus biomass into pelletized materials that will feed the soil. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. I'm at the Sustainable Homestead Institute, and Scott Vernon has moved his goats out here to the garden area. So this is a big garden enclosure, and we've talked about the vegetative strips before and how we have all the surplus biomass coming along. And what happens at the end of season? How do you reduce the biomass without fossil fuels or without petroleum and converting it into more fertile soil? And so you can see some melons out here, and there's some watermelon over there, and there's a temporary electric fence. And this is going to be kind of a preview of what's possible with our off-grid goats program. But using the transport trailer as a shelter and some temporary fence and a charger, he's up and running quick and easy with goats doing all the work. Now, these goats don't see this as work. They see it as food, and they are in here eating down the materials. You see a couple little doelings in there, a couple little bucks in there, and they're processing the surplus nutrient, which is left in grass, plants that have been overgrown, everything that it's into season. Now, the flexibility of this fence lets him exclude those fruit trees that are coming along on that edge. It also allows him to have the area take into consideration slope. So here's where the wheat was before. You can see it's all grass now. And then there's terraces up the hill, and he has the flexibility to put these goats on a single terrace. And so they're on the terrace, self-contained, plenty of water, a shelter from their transportation. There's no extra stuff to carry. And look how happy these goats are. Now, they're a little confused why I'm down here talking and stuff. But do you see how they're eating down the materials? They're chewing up the biomass. Now, when they first get in there, they're going to go after the stuff that they like the most. They're going to go after the things that make them excited. There are chili peppers out there, and there's watermelon in the back. And I actually toss an apple in there. But ultimately, green peppers. But they are gleaning the field, reducing down the biomass. And like we talked about before, and this is why goats are so valuable on a small farm or a homestead, is because they're pelletizing the biomass. Now, initially when they're dropped in here, they don't need any hay or anything like that. They don't necessarily need to be fed grains or anything like that because there's an abundance of materials. Now, I know that these materials are closely monitored, and the preparation was primarily to just mow out a strip so that the fence can go down without grounding out. But once these goats get to a certain point, they're probably going to get some hay, they're probably going to get some feed, or they're going to get moved along. Now, you can see that buckling taking a pee. That might not seem very exciting, but that is a sequestration of nitrogen and other minerals being delivered to the soil in a way that builds that soil. You can see a doe over there taking a dump. Now, I point these things out because you may not have noticed, but the animals are doing all the work. So somebody did mow around the outside and mowed a strip, and that it could just as easily have been a walking strip. They have the precision to ignore the wildflowers and things that are pollinators or available for the pollinators. And then using the travel trailer, I don't know if you've seen Scott's video, but this previous trailer didn't make it. It had a tire problem out on the road when he was picking up some stuff and had to be towed back. I'll link to that video on the bottom. But you can see the goats will eat down the materials or trample in the materials, turning waste into meat, milk, and other value. Again, I'm going to walk around a little bit more so you can see how simple this is to set up. The minimal number of materials. Now, of course, if you had a shelter you can drag behind an ATV. At our particular project, we're going to have shelters that we can drag with an ATV. Or we're going to have like Adirondack shelters out in the woods that only need to be moved a couple times a year. So, for example, in this case, this will get pulled up forward, and then the goats will start again, or to get moved to the top, could be moved by a tractor or a truck. In my case, we're going to have Adirondack shelters on skids so that I can just skid the shelter down the road a little bit further and have a primary mineral area and a primary water area and a primary hay area, if we do feed any hay, that's near the road so that we can access. It's not as well developed as over here. You can see all the terraces in place. You can see the different layers of gardens here. You can see the beautiful fence around it because, again, this is a well-designed market garden, but there's still a place for small livestock. There's still a space for chickens. This is the same concept as a chicken tractor. Now, when you do this the right way, they will do all the work, converting this into basically eating it down to the soil. And then you can come through and either do a light tillage, or you can terminate the crop with biomass, or you can just start planting in the crop. It all just depends on how it looks and what the result of it is. But chickens, unlike chickens, will scrape up all the soil and pull the roots out. Goats will just clear off the surface and all the biomass, and pigs will actually till up that soil. And so what we're now doing, and what you're seeing right now, and what you'll learn in the Off-Grid Goats program, and what you'll learn if you came out here and interned at the Sustainable Homestead Institute, or you took a class out here on homesteading, or you're part of the Homesteading Mastermind that I will link to in the description below, you would see how different types of animals do different things. And how the integration of the animal and the design within the permaculture guidelines, within the permaculture ethic, creates high value for everybody involved. So these goats, they're no longer interested in me because they've got a buffet of wonderful food that they like to eat. Now, the goats could come through here, and then let's say we don't have a tractor, we don't have a flail mower, we don't have a tiller. We can then have the chickens follow the goats. And then pigs follow the chickens, because chickens are going to tend to compact a little bit. And then by the end of the row, you have a garden ready to plant. After a little bit of rest, you have a garden ready to plant. And then you've got meat on the table: chicken, goat, and pork. Now, if you don't eat pork, you can always sell that product to the into the marketplace. But again, get that investment done in the knowledge. Get the books, take the classes, get involved with the community, because what you're seeing here doesn't take very long to set up. This is the end result of the Off-Grid Goats program. Now, for the nuances of raising goats, I'm working with 2 mentors that are helping me with my goat journey. And goats are perfect for my property. We don't have the mature trees or anything like that. And so the land that I'm managing, I'm choosing goats. But this could just as easily have been other type of livestock relevant to your area. So I'm going to encourage you to get involved with the Mastermind. I do have a link below with the Mastermind being led by Scott Vernon at the Sustainable Homestead Institute. And he can go into more details, answer your questions, and then of course he covers other areas. This is the result of his years of investment in knowledge and practical experience that he can convey to you faster and also help you with the challenges. Because again, this fence will hold the goats as long as there's food. This fence will hold the goats as long as it remains charged. You still got to check on these animals. And again, so we can go into those more details in our Off-Grid Goats program, or you can ask those questions in the Mastermind. But the links are in the description below. And again, this is being done right now. You can do it too, and you can do it at any scale. Thanks for watching. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you have specific questions for me, visit www.prosperityhomestead.org. Join our free newsletter or ask your questions on the contact page at www.prosperityhomestead.org.